So we're installing the FeherGuard Premium FG7B solar hose reel. The instructions, not all that great, and I looked online for some videos and I was unable to find any, so I'm making some. The first step that we did, which it said not to do that right away, but I did anyway, was to install the cones that they're talking about right there. There's an issue because you need to find placement so that they're equally across the pool from each other, but then you also need to make sure that there are no supports on the underside of the pool lip that will interfere, so placement isn't as easy as one would actually think. So once those cones were installed, I measured the pool, the diameter from the inside of the cones from each side, and it was 189 3/4. Then I measured the center tube, and that was 80 1/8, and each of the end tubes were approximately 80. So subtracted 80 from 189 3/4, came up with 109 5/8, and divided that across the two. Now that mark is the long distance from there, the 54 inches, and now I have to mark off the approximately 25 inches so I know where to put the screws. So these are the screw grooves, what they call it, a drill line. So this side is C, and they tell you to measure and find the end. So that's the end there. So I have the end of this tube marked off based on my measurements. That's 25 1/4 and you're supposed to go back an inch and mark where the screw goes. So this drill line will actually be C, and then every other one is what you're supposed to do. So this one will be D over here. So this would be C, this one would be D, and then C again. So basically what they've got you doing is doing a screw hole on this side and then one on that side to keep it balanced, if you will, as far as the strength goes. So I've got 3 C's marked off now. That's all the screw holes that I'll need on this end. And we're supposed to take this, and if you twist it, it locks in so that I'm pulling on it pretty strong, and it no longer moves. And that's what they mean by locking it in. So now that it's locked in, I need to go through and screw in all of the ones on the C side. There should be 3 of them on this end. And then when I'm done, I'll go to this end and I'll do the opposite ones, and these will be the D screws. Okay, you can see. This is the C hole. They say not to drill any, not to pre-drill anything, and these should be self-tapping, but as you can see, it's not that great. They said a teeny tiny pilot hole would be possible, and I might end up having to do that. We'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a teeny pilot hole. This is the teeny pilot hole they said we goodness. And I have this on the cardboard because you can see the metal filings falling off. I didn't want those metal filings getting stuck in kids' feet as they run through the yard. So the cardboard is here to catch any of those filings. Hopefully that pilot hole was enough for this to catch. Apparently not. So we paused the video and we're starting over again. We did drill the pilot hole all the way through. And it's still so I got the one screw in. You need a lot of patience. It flips and flops around. I'm thinking maybe a bigger drill bit. I grabbed a small one because they said only use a small pilot hole. But like I said earlier, I'm going to go through and do all of the C's. So that's a C. The next one is a D. So then this one is a C. I'll go and I'll drill the pilot hole again. Punched all the way through, and so I'm not switching. I'm going to go ahead and do the other C pilot hole. So again, I skipped a drill line and I went to the next one, which is a C again, and I'll drill my next pilot hole. So I've got all of the C's in. Now the D's are the opposite ones. I'm going to have to go to where I marked at this end and then start to do the D's over here. So I'll pull this over so it's closer to me. I'll drill all my pilot holes on the D slots. D, D, and D. Double checking that we're every other hole from the other end, just validating that as we go along. And what we did was we picked this up and walked it over to the pool, and we set the metal the way it is, the reel, with the screws in on this side alone to see if it fits. And it might be 1/4 of an inch too long, but what we're going to do here is take the end pieces that sit on top of the cone, and we're going to attach those, and then we'll dry fit to see if it fits the way it is or if there is any adjustment required. So this, it's not clear from those instructions that they provided. Now that I have it together, you can see that this fits in to the end. So you tap this in. Tighter some ways than others. There, that way went in just fine. And then this piece, there's grooves on the end here. Sorry, didn't mean to flip you all off. And there are stubs that stick out here. You need to line those up. Oh, and there's a roller inside of it so that the reel can turn freely. So the roller goes into this T-post. Then the reel goes on the end, and then you line the grooves up and slide it all together. And now this is how it'll roll. You can see in my hand, it'll roll sitting on top of the cone once it gets in. So we're gonna put this on the other side too, and then set it on top to make sure it all fits, and we'll make any adjustments that we need. Okay, so if you want to come around this side and take a look at the tube, you'll see that there are grooves here that I didn't notice at the other end. And then there are grooves on these pieces. Obviously that's where we need to guide those in to fit. I must have gotten it just by sheer luck on the other end. But this is set up the same exact way. Slide it in, and now we can hold the cone and we can move the reel. So now we'll go ahead and we'll put it on the pole, and we'll set it in before we put the screws in to this end. This end has not been screwed down yet, it's just locked into place. So there are no adjustments necessary at all after our dry fit. We got it in. So we'll just screw everything together in place. You can see that I can roll this freely on my own. Of course, the has not been attached yet. We need to pull it off, put the screws in this end, and then I need to go through and attach the straps that will connect to the cover that'll pull it up so that we can reel it together. And in the end, this design, which I'll show again at the end, this design, you can lift this out. It lifts out extremely easily. Sure, it'll be a slightly heavier with the cover actually on the reel. If you have two people, you can pick it up and you can walk it back past the end of the pool. If you're by yourself, from within the pool, once it's reeled up, you could pick it up, just pivot it and set it along the side of the pool. So for our pool, what I'll do is I'll actually disconnect that end and have it laying across this rail if it's just one person trying to manage this on their own. So now we're at the point to install the straps, and what they say was to measure 6 inches in from each end, which is what I did, and I marked that off. And then the rest of the straps, so one strap goes here, one strap goes at that end, 6 inches in. And then we had 8 straps remaining to divide the space between, and with our distance that broke down to every 22 inches. So I have our pilot spots marked for our small pilot holes, and then every 22 inches I have a dot marked for where we need to attach the straps. And the instructions say not to drill holes except a small pilot hole, which I am doing because these self-tapping screws are not very good about getting started and staying self-tapped. So I will be using the pilot holes, and we're supposed to then screw the straps in going through the webbing on the straps. So let me get these pilot holes drilled and we'll come back. So my printer is not great and the image didn't come through very clear, but as you can see it says to mark each end, so we did that. Attach straps to tubes at the marks with a metal screw directly through the strap material and approximately 1 inch back from the end of the strap. Do not pre-drill holes. Well, as we already talked about, I went through and I did do some pilot holes. Excuse the lawn. We had a rug here under our gazebo last year, and well, we have no grass here, but I went through with the straps per the picture attached, and I attached it here. We still have to go through and put this through this slot one more time, but I'm not going to do that till I get in the pool and I get the length set for each of them. But all of the straps are already set up and ready to go that way. The instructions don't tell us to do that until after the fact, but I'm going to do it now. And what I'm going to go through and do now is put the screws through the fabric at 1 inch so that they're all set and ready to go, so that I'm not fighting with it trying to get through when I get over to the bar. Plus I can sit in the shade and do it. It's about 87 degrees and very sunny today, so I'm taking advantage of a little of shade in the middle of the day here. So again, I'm going to go through and put the screws through. As you can see, it's taking quite a bit of effort to get that through, but I'd rather deal with that here than on the metal bar and have this sliding around with the strap attached as well. So we got that pretty well started. I might have to go through and thread this on to get it up to the top of the screw, but that's the plan at this point. One other thing you're going to want to make sure that you do is put the screw through the fabric consistently along the pieces that you're doing. I don't think it matters at this point which way you go. You just want to make sure you do it the same on each of these straps so that they all end up facing the same direction in the end, and you're not trying to thread your pool cover through this way on one side and then this way on the other. So just make sure and pay attention that you're doing it consistently on each of the straps. So as you can see, I started at 6 inches in and then went every 22 inches. And I did math wrong. I divided by 8 because I had 8 straps, but that gave me 8 spaces. I should have divided by 9 to give me 9 spaces, so those could be a little closer together, but I think in the end we'll be fine. And now we have a spare strap, but at this point we're ready to go ahead and put it on the pool and then make any attachments that we need to actually fold the cover in half from the connection point, get these clips here, these unscrew, and those go through the pool, through the bubble wrap, and then screw into there, and that's how it attaches. And then as the reel winds up, it goes around the reel here, and that's how the cover closes.